All right, as we all know by now, FIFA World Cup matches have officially wrapped up in both Toronto and Vancouver. And a new report suggests not only did Canada exceed expectations as a host country, but we may have done better than our American and Mexican counterparts. According to leading mobility transportation planning firm, Vancouver saw record high transit ridership during World Cup matches, while Toronto outpaced its original performance targets. Those cities also fared well in other metrics, too. Here with more on the results is the founder of Leading Mobility, David Cooper. Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So also, as we were mentioning in our little host chat earlier, that Sports Illustrated, you know, they named Vancouver
it's the top city.
Top city, yeah. Toronto #3. And I know transportation was a big part of that, especially walkability too. So let's talk about what we did right, because we all know that, like in Vancouver, and let's be real, especially in Toronto, even on a good day, transit and commuting can be difficult. So in terms of the World Cup and that context, what did both cities get right?
So a number of really good things happened, and people are going to look back at the World Cup and say, okay, what did we do well and what did we do right? And they're going to say transit. And what we saw was significant ridership gains. So there was 43% jump in ridership to the services that go to World Cup here in Toronto. There was a 30% jump in ridership on the SkyTrain. But what was interesting was there was also a big jump during the non-match days too, right?
Oh,
so
cool.
People want to get around the city. They want to do different things. We saw some of the best on-time performance on the subway system we've seen in a very long time. But we've also seen the implementation of new transit lanes, new transit priority, and different measures to speed up service, especially here in Toronto. And we wouldn't have got those unless we had the World Cup, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you know, as I said off the top, it didn't always go smoothly in every respect for Toronto and Vancouver, but we did pretty well. But let's look to the states in terms of how they handled it differently, because I know the state of New Jersey, for example, is estimating an extra $2 million operating costs, just on match days. So how did we fare when we contrast what we did with some of the American host cities?
So there's a really surprising story that came out of New York, and I was there a couple of weeks ago, coincidentally, for work. And in order to get to the MetLife Stadium, the main way to get on transit to Jersey is from Penn Station. And there's a 7-hour window of time where New Jersey Transit actually will not let you take the train.
Really?
One of the busiest transit corridors, unless you have a World Cup ticket. So they've displaced tens of thousands of transit riders per hour for the World Cup, so you have to take other ways to get across the Hudson River. And then not only that, there's not a one-seat ride. You have to transfer in Jersey to get to the stadium. So people have said, you know, forget this. They're only caring about half the numbers that they're looking at, and they're actually losing millions of dollars per game.
Oh, that's not a good situation if just everyday folks can't be riding at that point. Wow. So there are always lessons to be learned, even if something like this goes well. So for both Vancouver and Toronto, what lessons can we learn from being host cities in terms of transit?
Well, the lesson here is that transit always scales really well for major events, and we saw that happen. And I think when the evaluations come out and they'll say, okay, maybe we can do even bigger events with this, there's certain things we could do in terms of, you know, maybe more signage on some of the transit lanes and a little bit more traffic flow pieces. But we had a really good set of games, and the preparedness was there. So I think this is really an opportunity for the transit agency to say, hey, we delivered for you.
Right.
But in order to do that, we still need continued investment. So that's investment in our infrastructure, our rolling stock, our buses, our trains. And if we were to do this again, which I think all of us hope to host even bigger events down the road, we need to upkeep that infrastructure investment. And this is really good case example of where it worked really well.
So in both Vancouver and Toronto during the World Cup, both cities really had a transit-first approach. But things like dedicated transit lanes for buses, for example, bike lanes, they can be controversial, obviously, especially amongst folks who drive their car mostly. But are you optimistic that given the success Toronto and Vancouver had vis-a-vis transit during the World Cup, that this transit-first approach kind of could be carried forward a little bit beyond the World Cup?
There's always an apprehension when you put in transit priority measures. So I used to work at Toronto City Hall, and I worked on the King Street pilot, and there was a lot of times where sometimes businesses would be concerned about different access and the public, but once you show people that it works, you generally get more buy-in down the road to put more of these investments in. In Toronto, we can't build any more lanes of traffic, and we need to be able to purpose what we have now in terms of getting the most people through our city. And I think when we see examples where this is working, it's going to be easier on us to advance those types of transit projects in the future.
All right, thanks so much for being here, for your time and analysis. David Cooper, founder of Leading Mobility. Now we're...
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.